Hey friends, tonight we slow down in the dark, not just the night outside, but the one inside your chest. That kind of quiet that isn't peaceful yet. The one that feels a little hollow. Like something should be filling it, but nothing is. Like your heart is reaching, and heaven isn't reaching back. You've been holding things in longer than you meant to. Holding yourself together, holding in tears, holding back that tiny whisper. God, where are you? And maybe you've tried to stay strong. Keep your faith steady. But tonight, you're tired of pretending the silence hasn't gotten to you. Maybe you're even wondering if you've somehow drifted too far to be seen. I want to tell you gently, you're not alone in this. Even if it feels like it. You probably can't fix this tonight, not the ache, not the silence, not the sense of invisibility that's crept into your soul. But you don't have to fix it to be held. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you feel safe enough, share your name in the comments and how your heart's really doing tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's prayer together. You lay here, and the stillness feels loud. It's the kind of silence that doesn't just fill the room, it echoes inside you. You've been showing up, haven't you? Doing the things, being kind, keeping faith, waiting well, but the silence has started to feel personal. Like maybe heaven went quiet just for you. You wouldn't say it out loud, not in the daylight, not around others, but in the darkness, where it's safe to be honest, you admit it. You whisper it under your breath. God, I feel forgotten. And as soon as you say it, tears rise not from rebellion, but from relief. Because finally, it's out. And here's the truth. Friend, God can handle that whisper. He's not startled by your sorrow. He's not disappointed in your honesty. In fact, that vulnerable whisper is one of the most sacred prayers. Because only those who want to be close to God ever notice when He feels far. You're not distant. You're not disqualified. You're not rejected. You're just human. You've been in a season that's lingered longer than you thought it would. And it's left you wondering if maybe your name's been dropped from God's list. But I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. He hasn't misplaced you. He hasn't moved on. He hasn't missed one moment of your pain. The silence isn't absence. It's invitation. An invitation to come as you are, not because everything's fixed, but because you're finally done pretending. So you unclench your hands. You breathe slower. You whisper, if you're here, I'm listening. And even if you don't feel Him yet, even if the room stays still, know this, God rushes to meet the brave ones who tell the truth. And tonight you were brave. You told Him what you're really carrying. So you breathe again, softer now. You let Him sit beside you in the silence. Not to speak yet, just to stay. Because presence is a promise, even when words don't come. And tonight, He is here. When no one checks in, it begins to echo in places you didn't know could ache. Not because you expect people to fix it. Not because you want attention. But because sometimes you just want to be noticed. You've carried so much quietly. You've smiled when no one saw the effort behind it. You've replied, I'm okay, when you weren't even close. You've kept going without someone asking, hey, how's your heart? And while you know people are busy, you still wonder why no one has paused long enough to really see you. Am I that forgettable? Is my life so quiet that it doesn't even ripple into someone else's concern? And in that wondering, loneliness seeps deeper. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's just cold. Like standing at a window no one looks through. But friend, you need to hear this tonight. God sees the ones no one checks on. The ones who check on everyone else. The ones who don't make a fuss. The ones who stay kind even when they feel invisible. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted. Not just the loudly broken. Not just the obviously hurting. The quietly worn out. The tenderly forgotten. You. And He doesn't just see you, He moves toward you. Right here. In this moment. You may not hear the door swing open. You may not feel a sudden warmth. But in the spirit, He's sitting beside you. Not asking you to be strong. Not requiring you to put words to the ache. Just being there. So tonight, let that matter. Let it count that you don't have to pretend with God. He's not another voice asking how you're doing just to fill space. He knows. And that knowing is sacred. So you breathe. You whisper, God, I needed someone to notice. And He answers, I did. He saw the moment you held back tears earlier. He felt the silence you returned to after giving your best all day. He heard the prayer you didn't know how to form. You've never been as unseen as you feel. Tonight, you're deeply known and deeply loved. Let that be the comfort you curl up with now. You don't need a dozen texts to validate your worth. You don't need a perfect friendship circle to feel held. You just need to know. The maker of the stars has not missed 1 second of your struggle. So exhale. Let go of that quiet desperation to be noticed by people. And rest in this. Heaven checked in tonight. God came close just for you. Lonely in a crowded world, you can be surrounded and still starving for connection. It's one of the quietest aches to laugh with people and still feel hollow inside. To walk into a room and wonder if anyone would notice if you didn't. You try to be present. You try to stay grateful. But underneath all that effort, there's a whisper in your soul. Why do I still feel alone? And that's the ache that's hardest to name. Because you're doing everything right. You're not isolated. You're functioning. But loneliness doesn't always mean solitude. It means disconnection. The sense that no one sees inside. That no one really gets the depth of what you're carrying. And that gets heavy. But here's the quiet truth you may need tonight. Jesus knows what that feels like. He walked through crowds, healed the sick, fed the hungry, and still retreated to lonely places just to be with his Father. He knows the pain of giving everything and feeling empty at the end of the day. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, familiar with grief. So tonight, if the room you're in feels full but your heart feels vacant, let Jesus be your company. Not as a concept, not as a verse, as a real warm, healing presence. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to perform vulnerability. You just have to whisper, God, I feel alone, even around people. And he draws near. Because this is the kind of loneliness he knows how to sit in. He doesn't try to cheer you up. He just stays. He stays in the space between your surface smile and your silent ache. He stays where others forget to look. And his staying is what begins to heal you. So you breathe. You stop trying to analyze your emotions. You stop feeling guilty for your sadness. You stop apologizing for needing closeness that people haven't given. And you whisper, thank you for being here, even when no one else sees me. Let that be your comfort tonight. You're not failing for feeling lonely. You're just human. And heaven has never once backed away from human need. So as your heart softens in this stillness, let it remember you're not alone in this bed. You're not forgotten in this house. You're not unseen in this world. You're being held by the one who never misses a moment of your inner life. And that is enough to rest in tonight. Does God still remember you? That quiet question sits deeper than you'd like to admit. It's not dramatic. Not angry, just tender. Worn. Like a child glancing if the father still sees their small frame in a big, busy crowd. You've prayed. You've waited. You've trusted longer than you thought you could. But the silence has begun to feel like distance. You whisper, did I slip through somehow? It's okay to ask that. God isn't afraid of your wandering. He doesn't turn away when your trust starts to tremble. He doesn't rebuke the tired questions that come from a soul stretched thin. Can a mother forget her nursing child? He asks not to shame you, but to assure you, even if she could, I won't forget you. You are engraved. You are etched into eternity, not penciled in, not noted briefly, engraved, carved into the very hands that shape galaxies. So no, you're not forgotten. Not in the pause. Not in the stillness. Not in the long nights when prayers return like echoes. God remembers you, and not just vaguely. He remembers your laugh, your scent, the cadence of your sighs, the rhythm of your thoughts. He remembers how you looked the day you took your first breath, and he already knows how he'll hold you when you take your last. You are not forgotten. But it's okay that it feels that way sometimes. Feelings aren't lies. They're signals. And this feeling, this ache of abandonment, is simply your soul reminding you how deeply you were made for closeness. So tonight, invite him into that space. Not with perfect words, not with polished theology, just with honesty. God, I want to feel remembered again. And he whispers you are. Not because you did something to deserve it, not because you reminded him with louder prayers, but because he never left. So you breathe. You let go of the anxious scanning, that internal reaching for a sign, a signal, a sentence that proves he's near. And instead you just rest. You rest in the ancient truth that even when God is quiet, he is not absent. Even when he hides, he is still holding. So tonight, curl up in the mystery. Let yourself be remembered, even when you don't feel remembered. Let the love that formed your soul be the same love that tucks you in now. The long wait with no update. It's one thing to wait when you know how long it'll last. But when the waiting stretches, undefined, unclear, that's a whole different ache. No update. No confirmation. No gentle hint that something's shifting. Just more silence. You open your Bible. You go to church. You try to stay grateful. But under all of it, there's a quiet fatigue. God, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And that's not weakness. That's not doubt. That's the kind of honesty that God draws near to. Because when you reach the edge of your strength, He doesn't stand back waiting for you to impress Him. He steps closer. He knows the days you've kept walking, even when your heart felt limp. He knows how many nights you've gone to sleep without answers, and still woke up choosing trust again. They who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. But you're not just waiting for strength, you're waiting for anything. A word, a sign, a door, a yes. And every day that passes without one feels heavier. But here's something sacred you may not have seen yet sometimes. The absence of updates doesn't mean God is inactive. It means He's working deep, below the surface, in places you can't track, like a seed breaking open in darkness long before there's any green above the soil. God is not wasting your waiting, even when it feels like limbo, even when it feels like punishment, even when it feels like He forgot to hit send on the next part of the plan. So tonight, take that ache for progress and lay it down. You don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. You don't have to silence your longing. You just get to stop trying to manage a timeline you were never meant to carry. You whisper, God, I'll stay right here, even if I don't know how long. And heaven leans close not with updates but with peace. Because sometimes peace is better than knowing. Peace means you don't need to know to feel safe. So you breathe slower. You let go of the imaginary calendar. You stop refreshing your soul like an inbox waiting for news. And you rest. Not because it's all unfolding now, but because the one who holds time holds you. When prayers return empty, you've whispered them late into the night. You've repeated them through clenched jaws and wet pillows. You've offered them like offerings raw, desperate, reverent. But nothing comes back. No shift. No sign. No reply. Just the feeling that your prayers rise and fall back in your lap, unanswered. And you wonder, is anyone even listening? That's the ache that almost feels too vulnerable to speak aloud, because others seem so sure, so anchored, so blessed. And here you are, trying to keep praying when it feels like nothing's happening. But let this be a truth your soul clings to tonight. Your prayers have never disappeared into the void. Not one of them has been wasted. Not one of them ignored. Not one of them met with silence from indifference. Even when there is no answer, there is always attendance. God hears. Always. Even in the most hollow feeling moments. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. He hears what you can't articulate. He receives the sighs you're too weary to form into words. He holds the prayers you forgot you, even prayed the ones you gave up on. But the waiting, the silence, it still hurts. And it's okay to admit that. It doesn't make you less faithful. It doesn't mean your prayers are broken. It just means you're longing deeply for God to show up in a tangible way. And longing is holy. Longing is proof that your heart is still tender toward heaven. So tonight, don't silence the ache. Don't clean up your prayers. Don't force yourself to sound strong when you're not. Whisper what's real. God, I'm praying, but I feel like you're not answering. And then, don't rush past the quiet that follows. Stay there. Not because answers are guaranteed in the next moment, but because even the echo of your longing is heard in the halls of heaven. And while the answers may feel delayed, His nearness is not. So you breathe. You let go of the pressure to produce the right prayer. You stop measuring your faith by how fast things change. You rest in the fact that relationship with God is not built on results, it's built on presence. And tonight, that presence is still here, still soft, still real, still listening even now. The weight of hidden pain. There are parts of you that no one knows about. Not because you're secretive, not because you don't want to share, but because some wounds are too tender for casual conversation, too sacred for small talk, too heavy to drop into a passing "how are you?" So you tuck them away. The childhood memory you never unpacked. The deep disappointment that still throbs under every smile. The unanswered why that still echoes in your mind. And maybe you've grown used to carrying it. Maybe no one notices the way your shoulders hunch a little under that invisible weight. But God does. He sees the things no one asks about. The sorrow you've learned to function around. The questions you've stopped trying to phrase. The fatigue that isn't from your body but from your soul. You have kept count of my tossings. You have put my tears in your bottle. What a tender verse. God not only sees, He remembers. He doesn't just glance at your pain. He collects it. Like a loving parent who keeps every scribble, every photo, every moment that mattered. He holds your ache with affection. And tonight you don't have to hide it. You don't have to translate it into something palatable. You don't have to shrink it to make someone else comfortable. You can just show it, even if it's messy, even if it's old, even if you thought you were over it by now. He's not impatient with your process. He doesn't say move on. He says come close. So you do. You let your breathing slow. You unclench your jaw. You feel the lump in your throat, and for once, you don't swallow it back down. You whisper, God, this hurts, and I don't know what to do with it anymore. And he whispers back, you don't have to do anything with it. Just let me carry it. So you breathe again. You let him into the corners you usually keep closed. And it feels strange but safe. You are not a burden. You are not too much. You are not broken beyond holding. You are known. Wholly, tenderly, patiently. And tonight you are allowed to be carried. Even if no one else ever sees that part of you, he does. And that's enough. Caring for everyone, noticed by no one. You're the one they count on. The steady presence. The helpful one. The one who remembers birthdays, listens deeply, shows up without being asked. And you don't do it for attention, you really don't. But sometimes it stings. That silence after your effort. That empty space where a thank you could have been. That hollow H that says, does anyone even see how much I give? You brush it off most days. You remind yourself that love isn't about being noticed. But deep down, you long to feel seen, not just needed. There's a difference, isn't there? Being needed feels like work. Being seen feels like worth. And God knows the difference. He sees every small act of care you've poured into people who may never realize how deeply you've loved them. He sees the way you show up, even when your own tank is empty. He sees the way you keep giving grace, even when it's not reciprocated. He sees the way you hold space for others, even when no one makes space for you. Your Father who sees in secret will reward you. That reward isn't just some distant heavenly treasure. It's his presence, his nearness, his delight. It's him whispering tonight, I saw that. That time you didn't bring up your own pain, because someone else needed comfort. That time you gave your last ounce of energy to make someone else's day easier. That time you stayed kind when it would have been easier to shut down. So you exhale. You let that sink in. The God of the universe saw you. Not just your actions, but your motives, your heart. You are not invisible to him. You're not just a helper, not just a support, not just someone filling in the gaps. You are beloved. He made you to love well, yes, but he also made you to be loved back. So tonight, let him love you. Let him notice what no one else did. Let him whisper what your heart has been craving to hear. I see how much you've done. I see how much it's cost you. I see how tenderly you keep showing up. And I'm proud of you. Let those words settle into the places that ache. Let them wrap around the part of you that's tired of being the strong one. You can rest now. You don't have to earn your worth through one more act of quiet giving. You're already enough seen, loved, and treasured by the one who never misses a moment. The exhaustion of being strong. Some nights the weariness seeps deeper than your muscles. It's not just your body that's tired, it's your heart, your mind, your soul. You've carried so much, not just tasks, but tension. Trying to be reliable, trying to be composed, trying to be okay even when you're not. And there comes a point, like tonight, when the weight presses too hard, and you think, I don't want to be strong right now. And that's okay. God never asked you to carry it all. He never asked you to hold up the whole world or even your little corner of it. He never measured your faith by how little you break down. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. He knew you'd reach this point. He knew your strength would run out. He designed it that way, not as failure, but invitation. Because only the tired come to rest. Only the burdened come to be lifted. Only the honest come to be healed. And tonight you're honest. You're at that sacred edge where pretending ends and real prayer begins. So you whisper, God, I'm tired of being the strong one. And he responds, good. Let mine be strength for you now. You don't have to keep it together tonight. You don't have to hold all the pieces. You don't have to be the planner, the peacekeeper, the positive one. You just get to be his. Held, safe, still. Let the sink in. You are allowed to be undone. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to need help, even if no one else sees it. And God, he's not disappointed. He's not surprised by your fatigue. He's not standing back with crossed arms, waiting for you to rally. He's already kneeling beside your weariness, already cradling the parts of you that sag under the weight. So you let go slowly, one worry at a time, one what if at a time, one heavy breath at a time. You let your heart soften under his nearness. Because the truth is, you were never supposed to be the strong one all the time. You were meant to be loved. You were meant to rest. You were meant to have a place to fall apart and still be held. So tonight you fall softly into grace, into arms, into the holy comfort of not having to carry it all. Let that be your peace now. You are safe to rest. Jesus was forgotten too. It helps to remember that even the Savior of the world, the one who healed, fed, loved perfectly, felt the sting of being left alone. In the garden, as he wept and wrestled with the coming cross, his closest friends fell asleep, and later, at his darkest hour, they ran. My God, why have you forsaken me? That cry wasn't performance. It was real pain, holy anguish, felt abandonment. So if you've ever wondered whether God understands what it feels like to be forgotten, the answer is yes. Not just in theory, not in theology, in experience. He knows. He knows what it feels like to be left out of the room where your heart should have been welcomed. He knows the ache of giving everything and receiving silence in return. He knows what it's like to ask, where is everyone I loved when I need them most? So tonight, if your soul feels like it's been left behind, if your name hasn't been spoken, if your presence hasn't been noticed, rest in this truth. Jesus not only sees your loneliness, he has lived it. And instead of avoiding you in it, he comes close. He comes to sit with you in the silence, to hold space for your ache without trying to fix it too fast, to remind you that being forgotten by people has never meant you were forgotten by God. He will not leave you or forsake you. It's not a platitude. It's a promise etched into eternity, and it's being whispered over you right now. So you breathe again, not with answers, not with a solution, just with the comfort of solidarity. You are not the only one who has felt this way, and you are not the only one in this room tonight. Jesus walks into the empty places, into the quiet that stretches too long, into the night where no texts come back, into the moments where you wonder if you matter anymore. And he says, I remember you. He remembers your name, your story, your scars, your strength. So tonight, let that truth reach the part of you that has started to feel like disappearing. You don't have to be loud to be loved. You don't have to be impressive to be remembered. You just have to be still and let love sit with you, even here, especially here, the ache of being too much and not enough. Sometimes you feel like you take up too much space, like your needs are an inconvenience, your emotions too messy, your presence too loud, or too quiet. Other times you wonder if you're not enough, not helpful enough, not spiritual enough, not strong enough to be truly wanted. And the cycle spins. Too much, not enough. Too sensitive, not responsive. Too broken, not useful. You carry those whispers like weights, even if no one ever said them aloud. But tonight, let God say something deeper. You are my beloved. You are enough because I made you. Not enough for a checklist. Not enough for approval ratings. Enough for love. Enough for rest. Enough to be chosen as you are. The world loves to measure. But heaven holds. And you don't have to prove anything here. There's no part of you that has to be airbrushed for divine affection. The jagged edges, the unspoken grief, the pieces of your personality you try to dull down just to stay connected. God sees all of it, and he smiles. Not because you're flawless, because you're his. I have called you by name, you are mine. He didn't choose the improved version of you. He chose you. The one who overthinks every conversation. The one who cries in the shower. The one who gets tired of always being the peacemaker. The one who needs more grace than you like to admit. So tonight, loosen the grip on that old ache, the one that says, you're just too much, or you're never quite enough. Let those lies slide off your shoulders. They were never yours to carry. You were made in the image of God, full of intention, dignity, and wonder. You were handcrafted, not mass-produced. And that means you don't have to mold yourself to fit anyone else's expectations. You just have to rest in the truth. You are deeply known and fully loved. So you breathe. You stop apologizing for who you are. You stop editing your soul to be more acceptable. You stop running from the ache of your uniqueness, and instead, you let God celebrate it. Tonight, you are not to anything. You are exactly who he saw when he said, it is good. Let that truth become your pillow tonight. You are enough to be loved. Enough to be wanted. Enough to be held just as you are. When silence feels like abandonment, you've been faithful. You've stayed soft. Even when life gave you every reason to grow hard, you've tried to keep believing, even when prayers return unanswered. But deep down there's a question that stings God. If you love me, why does it feel like you've gone quiet? And it's okay to ask that. It doesn't mean you've lost your faith. It means your heart is still awake, still longing, still listening, still hoping. But oh, how hard the silence is. Not the kind where nothing is happening, but the kind where you don't know if anything is. The kind of silence that feels like being left unread by heaven. You open your Bible, and it feels hollow. You pray, and the words echo back. You serve, and wonder if any of it still matters. And into that ache, God whispers something old and sacred: I will never leave you. Even here. Especially here. Because sometimes silence is not distance, but depth. Think of a seed buried beneath soil. In the silence, unseen things are unfolding. Roots are deepening before fruit can bloom. That's how God works too. He's not ignoring you. He's preparing something deeper than your timeline can see. But he doesn't expect you to pretend the silence doesn't hurt. He sits with you in it. He doesn't rush you past the ache. He joins you inside it. And tonight, that's what your soul needs more than answers: companionship in the quiet. So you breathe. You let go of the lie that says silence equals absence. You release the tension of waiting for a spiritual feeling to prove that God is near. You simply whisper, God, I trust you, even when I can't hear you. And heaven leans in, not with thunder, not with fire, but with the quiet comfort of a love that does not withdraw even in the waiting. Let that be enough tonight. You are not abandoned. You are not being punished. You are being loved in ways that silence can still hold. So lie back now. Let the stillness cradle you instead of scare you. You are safe. You are seen. You are still held even when the words don't come. When your hope feels thin, you didn't mean to let it fade. You've tried to stay expectant. You've whispered, God can still do it, even when your circumstances said otherwise. But lately, your hope feels fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind, like a thread stretching thinner with every silent day. And you wonder, is it wrong to feel this way? No, it's human. Even heroes of faith had days like this. Elijah, under the tree, begging to give up. David, crying in caves, asking if God had forgotten his promises. Even Jesus, weeping in the garden, asking for another way. Hope is not a straight line. Sometimes it swells like a wave. Sometimes it barely holds on like a whisper. But in both places you are still held. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smouldering wick he will not snuff out. God doesn't despise fragile faith. He treasures it, because fragile faith still turns to him. Even if all you can say tonight is, I don't know how to keep believing, he receives that. He's not asking for fireworks, just a glance, a whisper, a breath in his direction. So tonight, if your hope feels thin, let him carry it for you. You don't have to hold it all. You don't have to drum up more belief. You just have to let your weary heart lean back into his. You exhale. You whisper, I still want to trust you. And that is enough. Not because it's strong, but because it's real. God isn't drawn to performance, he's drawn to honesty. He sees that you've kept showing up, even when your hands were empty. He sees that you've continued to pray, even when your heart was numb. And tonight, he comes gently, not to scold, but to soothe. Let him do that now. Let him breathe peace into the part of you that's afraid to hope again, because last time, the waiting hurt too much. Let him remind you hope is not about how certain you feel. Hope is about where you place your weight, and if you're leaning on him, even in your exhaustion, that's real hope. So rest tonight, not because you feel hopeful, but because hope himself has not left you. When memories stir the ache again, sometimes you're fine all day. You get through the tasks. You smile when it's expected. You function like you've moved on. But then night comes, and something small, a smell, a phrase, a photo opens the door, and suddenly, there it is again. The loss, the grief, the ache you thought had healed. You sit with it, unsure what to do. Isn't it supposed to be over by now? Aren't you supposed to be past this? But here's the truth, softly spoken grief doesn't follow a timeline. Heart Usher doesn't keep a calendar. Healing comes in waves, and sometimes the tide rolls in without warning. And that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're still tender. It means you still care. God is not asking you to suppress that. He's not rushing you to get over it. He's already seated beside you right there in the ache. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Not just on the first day of heartbreak, not just in the early stages of grief, but always even tonight as you revisit the wound. So you whisper, God, I didn't expect this to hurt again. And he answers, I know. Let me hold it with you. You don't have to relive it all tonight. You don't have to fix what memory has stirred. You just get to feel it and not be alone in it. Let the tears come, if they do. Let the quiet hold you, if they don't. There's no right way to grieve. There's only honesty and gentleness and the kindness of a savior who understands. So you breathe. You let the memory rise but not drown you. You let the pain speak but not define you. You let God wrap around the edges that still feel tender like a blanket around a chilled soul. And you remember you are not weak for remembering. You are not failing because it still stings. You are human. You are healing. And you are held right here, right now, in the place you didn't think you'd revisit. Let that be enough for tonight. No resolutions, no pressure, just presence. When memories stir the ache again, sometimes you're fine all day. You get through the tasks. You smile when it's expected. You function like you've moved on. But then night comes, and something small, a smell, a phrase, a photo opens the door, and suddenly there it is again. The loss, the grief, the ache you thought had healed. You sit with it, unsure what to do. Isn't it supposed to be over by now? Aren't you supposed to be past this? But here's the truth. Softly spoken grief doesn't follow a timeline. Heart touch doesn't keep a calendar. Healing comes in waves, and sometimes the tide rolls in without warning. And that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're still tender. It means you still care. God is not asking you to suppress that. He's not rushing you to get over it. He's already seated beside you right there in the ache. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, not just on the first day of heartbreak, not just in the early stages of grief, but always even tonight as you revisit the wound. So you whisper, God, I didn't expect this to hurt again. And he answers, I know. Let me hold it with you. You don't have to relive it all tonight. You don't have to fix what memory has stirred. You just get to feel it and not be alone in it. Let the tears come, if they do. Let the quiet hold you, if they don't. There's no right way to grieve. There's only honesty and gentleness and the kindness of a savior who understands. So you breathe. You let the memory rise but not drown you. You let the pain speak but not define you. You let God wrap around the edges that still feel tender like a blanket around a chilled soul. And you remember you are not weak for remembering. You are not failing because it still stings. You are human. You are healing. And you are held right here, right now, in the place you didn't think you'd revisit. Let that be enough for tonight. No resolutions. No pressure. Just presence. A whisper for the parts you still hide. There's one more place in you, a soft, bruised part that even now feels too hidden to bring into the light. It's the part you've protected for years. The part you rarely name. The part that learned how to smile while silently hurting. Maybe it's a regret. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's a story you only tell halfway. Whatever it is, it lingers. And even here in this quiet space, it resists the invitation to be seen. But what if tonight you let God in? Not all at once. Not with loud declarations. Just a whisper of willingness. Just a thought, maybe he can hold even this. Because here's the truth your heart has needed for years. God does his gentlest work in the places you hide. He doesn't force his way in. He doesn't flinch at the sight of your truth. He doesn't love the polished version of you more than the messy one. He just waits softly, patiently, eternally until you're ready. Even the darkness is not dark to you, so you try. You breathe. You turn toward the place you've avoided. You whisper what feels too tender to say aloud. And you feel something shift. Not judgment, not shame, just presence, just love. Just the holy hush of a God who sits with the unspoken and calls it sacred. You are not defined by what you've hidden. You are not disqualified by what you've carried alone. You are not forgotten because you kept this part locked away. You are loved wholly. And tonight, that love is not in a rush. You don't have to unpack it all right now. You just have to let yourself rest in the truth. You are safe. You are known. And nothing can separate you from the love that's been chasing you through every silence, every sigh, every secret. So breathe again. Let the hiding end. Let the healing begin. So now, as the night folds around you gently, as your body softens into stillness, as the world quiets and the lights dim low, let this truth linger. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. You are not too far gone. too late, too much, or too little. You are exactly where God can reach you right here, in this quiet place. Even the things you couldn't fix today, even the things that feel unfinished, unspoken, unresolved, they are not too heavy for the arms that hold you now. So exhale slowly. Unclench your hands. Loosen your jaw. Let peace begin its gentle work. You don't have to strive for it. You don't have to earn this rest. You just have to let go and receive it. Because God is not waiting for the polished version of you. He's loving the honest one, the tired one, the one who finally whispered help. And his answer is here in stillness, in nearness, in love that refuses to walk away. So as you drift towards sleep, remember this: you are held, you are safe, you are not alone. God is not in a hurry. He's not disappointed in your weariness. He's just here whispering peace over every part of you. Let that be your lullaby. End of script. Sweet dreams.